Hello everybody, welcome to my Ursoc strategy guide for Heroic Emerald Nightmare. So Ursoc is probably the fourth boss you will be doing in Heroic Emerald Nightmare. It is a fairly high DPS and healing check for people in your raid, so that's why I recommend doing it fourth. Um, so when you first start Ursoc, you want to ensure that you have split your raid up into two groups. This will be because of the gaze mechanic you see coming up now. So the gaze mechanic will target one player and do damage based off how far he charges. So this person who gets targeted needs to run into the center of the room and be as far away as the boss as possible. When you split your group into half, one half of the group must be on the inside of the boss and one half of the group wants to be on the outside of the boss as you're looking to the center respectively. So when the first gaze goes off, the group that needs to be on the inside of the boss will be soaking the gaze. The gaze will be doing split damage across the raid group of the people who soak it, and they'll be giving them a debuff that increases the damage they take from this gaze charge by 100%. So as you can see there, we just swapped, and that was going to be, so we swapped the second group to be the inside group so they can soak the gaze. So now you can see that the first group's debuff just wore off and they'll be swapping to the inside of the boss, and I'll be moving to the outside of the boss in just a second. The second major mechanic of the fight is the roaring cacophonies. So the cacophonies do a split AoE damage to everybody that is 25 yards within the boss, and will spawn a pool underneath the boss where it casted cacophony. So the easiest way we found with dealing with this is everybody stands in front of the boss within 25 yards, so when the pool spawns underneath the boss, nobody is getting hit by it, and reducing the overall raid damage. Once this first pool goes down, the tanks pull the boss slightly out of the pool, so we minimize the distance between the cacophonies and minimize the movement of the raid. Each cacophony will be doing successfully more damage, as you can see there. The roaring cacophony has 5 stacks. This is the soften rage for the boss, and is why you want to be bringing as high a DPS as you can, and why you probably want to be doing this boss later, because having more DPS in this fight will reduce the overall healing that is required and make this boss significantly easier. So there are two tank debuffs in this fight you need to keep track of. One is the Overwhelm, and the second is the Rend Flesh. The Overwhelm will increase the damage you take from the Rend Flesh and increase your physical damage taken. So the idea for this mechanic is you have one tank tanking the overwhelming stacks, and you have one tank tanking the flashes. So as you're about to see here in a second, we have our warrior tank taunting the boss as the Rend Flesh is about to go off, and then the DK tank will taunt back and take the bleed. While the boss is doing the cacophony and gazes, the overwhelming stacks should fall off the boss. We found on some attempts the overwhelming stacks were not falling off. However, they tended to do it most of the time. So when the tank tended to get more stacks of the overwhelming, we just used an external cooldown on the tank. At 30% HP, the boss will enrage. This is why we chose to hero at 30% HP, as the cacophony damage was increasing. So having more healing cooldowns and more haste to heal through the cacophonies, we found was the best way to approaching the boss. It is completely viable to be using heroism at the start of the fight when everyone has their cooldowns and potions to maximize the damage on the boss and get less cacophonies. However, with the number of warriors and XP classes we had in the group, we decided it was better to heroism at the end of the fight. The hardest part about this boss will be getting the gazes down pat. Once you've figured out the pattern for the gazes, it becomes very easy. After a few attempts, you'll notice there is a set pattern for where you need to run for each gaze. So if you're starting on the inside, you'll be soaking one gaze, then you'll be running to the front of the boss until 2 cacophonies go off, and then you're on to the outside. Once the next gaze runs off, you'll be running to the front of the boss for the 2 cacophonies, and then you'll be running to the inside. This pattern will simply repeat for the entire process, so knowing where to go preemptively will really help you out and make sure you have maximum uptime on your casts. During the end of the fight, you'll notice that the cacophony damage will start getting increasingly higher. We found it was best to start using throughput healing cooldowns at this point, and using defensive cooldowns like barrier during the gazes. Thank you for watching.